What is going on, everybody? Today's episode, as you can see, is going to be a little bit different because Madden 24 is coming out in around 2 months or so. Usually around the end of June, the month of July, is when the franchise deep dive is revealed by EA. They're going to be doing that this Friday. I'm probably going to have a video related to that. And around this time, I really start to think of potential franchise teams for my series with the new game coming out. So that's exactly what I've started to do over the last couple of weeks. I haven't taken a super close look at a lot of depth charts and stuff yet, but I am starting to just think about it a little bit of who are some teams that I would like to consider for Madden 24. Obviously, this year I picked the Titans, and while I don't regret it, I feel like I wasn't open enough to other teams. I feel like in my head I kind of decided in like the month of May that I really want to do the Titans, and pretty much no matter how the vote goes, unless they do completely awful, I'm going to pick them. So if this year I've decided to keep a lot more of an open mind, and as I've thought about it a little bit, there are probably 6 or 7 really good choices in my opinion as teams that I could potentially do. That number could go up or down as I take a closer look at teams over the next few weeks. I'm going to have a kind of long list of teams I consider, and obviously that's going to be narrowed down over the next month or so, leading up to the final vote on the YouTube community tab with likely 4 or 5 teams in consideration. So the reason why I'm making this video here is because I want to hear from you guys. What teams would you like to see? What type of rebuild would you like to see? Because I think there are multiple intriguing different types of routes that I could go with for a Madden 24 team. We could do the traditional route of picking a bad team whose roster is not good. They have some young pieces, but the team really has a long ways to go, and on paper it looks like a big challenge. I think the Arizona Cardinals are a good example of this, a team in the NFC West who on paper is really bad. They have 2 first-round picks. They have a question mark at quarterback. They're a team who could be interesting. Maybe a team like the Las Vegas Raiders is a good example. They have more high-end talent with guys like Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs. But overall, again, their roster is not great, and they have a lot of holes, including the quarterback position, and there are other teams that kind of fit that bill. We could choose an older team who's on the decline. The Buccaneers and Rams have both won Super Bowls within the last 3 years, and now both of them have pretty old and pretty not so good rosters. The Rams in specific, I mean, they have Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. Matthew Stafford, when healthy, is good, but the rest of the team is pretty terrible. And then the Buccaneers as well, with Tom Brady out the door. We've got a QB battle over there and a roster that seems to be aging. We could very well do the route of a team who is stuck in the middle, who isn't going to be terrible, but isn't really going anywhere. I think the New England Patriots are a good example of this. They have a pretty solid roster, but they lack high-end talent. Obviously, they have Bill Belichick, so you can't really rule them out. But in the long term, Bill Belichick's not going to be there forever. And right now, the Patriots don't really seem to have a clear direction. Even though they won their division last year, I would throw the Minnesota Vikings into this conversation. The Vikings are a team who got kind of lucky last year in a lot of one-score games, and their fraudulence, for lack of a better term, did kind of show up in the playoffs as they lost to the Giants. The Vikings roster has gotten worse over the offseason. They have focused on kind of starting a rebuild in a way by getting rid of some old talent, and it seems like this will be Kirk Cousins' last year in Minnesota. So again, a quarterback question with the Vikings. We could look at an up-and-coming team who has some expectations but also has some question marks. I think the New York Jets are the perfect example of this. Obviously, with the addition of Aaron Rodgers, they'll be an intriguing team. They've got a lot of expectations this upcoming season, but again, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there forever. What are the Jets going to do without him once he retires within the next 2 to 3 seasons? We could go back to the route of doing a playoff team who doesn't really seem to be a true contender but has been good. Obviously, the Titans last year were a perfect example of this, and I think some other examples include maybe the New York Giants. They won a playoff game last year, and I think their roster has a lot of intriguing young talent, but I don't think they're quite there yet as a contender. Another example, I would say, is kind of like the Seattle Seahawks. Again, a good team who's probably going to win plenty of games this year, but realistically, they are a ways to go until they are a Super Bowl contender. And then I think the last type of team I would look at is an expansion team. I get that expansion isn't in the game, but I think I know a way of how we could possibly do an expansion draft. There's a lot more freedom in terms of relocation this year. There are more cities. You can relocate any team into any city. The relocation teams will also appear right away, so you don't have to simulate a year to do it. So I really do feel like there's a lot of good options for franchise this year, and I'm excited to see what we have for the deep dive because EA claims that Madden 24 is a make or break year. So I do have some expectations that the game is going to be really good, and I'm excited to see what that entails. Again, I'm going to have a video recapping the franchise deep dive, which again I believe is this Friday. And again, I want to hear some teams that you guys would like to see with reasons as to why. They can be teams I mentioned today as examples, or maybe teams that I didn't talk about as well. So that'll wrap it up. I know a different type of upload. Your regularly scheduled content will be back tomorrow. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Peace out.